Alright, I'm gonna keep this brief. Today I'm just gonna be answering the question of whether or not you can beat Sonic Frontiers without acquiring any rings. Now, there's really only one simple rule to this, as you could probably infer. If my ring count goes up, I must reload the save. And I mean, that's pretty much the only thing we have to go off of in this run. By the way, I am running some cosmetic mods on this run just to spicy it up. But nothing that affects gameplay whatsoever. And if y'all think you're smelling poo, I stream the entire thing on Twitch. And VODs actually might be gone. But shit. I have them saved on YouTube. If you suspect any silly business, I will not hesitate to upload them. But yeah. Anyway, here's a list of the mods if you're curious. And yeah, that's pretty much it. So let's go! So initially I went into this very confident and only worried about a few things. The first thing being Wyvern, because it's the only boss where rings are available in the boss fight, and they kind of spawn everywhere, so that'll be fun. And just the bosses in general actually, because I'm not really sure if you're going to be able to beat all of them with only 100 rings. That's the amount it gives you if you go into Supersonic with 0 rings, by the way. But yeah, we'll see how that goes. And pinball's also another worry, because the objective is literally to collect rings, but I have a plan for that. You'll see. And some certain parts on each island have me worried too, but not too worried, because you can cheese the fuck out of the open world sometimes, so I think that'll be the strategy if we run into that. But I feel like the biggest challenge, honestly, is gonna be Rhea Island. There's only one way up those towers, and there's little to no freedom with those. So if there's a ring in the way, we are absolutely screwed. All that aside though, we start off with 1-1, and initially it seems pretty easy, but we run into some minor humps and ultimately find a way over them pretty quickly. Tutorial section was super easy too, but I did try to finesse maybe a little too many memory tokens, but I ended up discovering 2 important things. I mean, not that important, but interesting, I suppose. 1. If you use Psyloop around a puzzle object, it does not spawn rings. Sometimes. It depends on the puzzle. I think the Tetris ones, it does still spawn rings, for some reason. Don't know why. And also 2, if you get a memory token but fall off the map, you still keep that memory token. So, that might be useful. We'll see. Later on, if I'm low on memory tokens, we might have to go back and get some, but I doubt it, but we'll see. The boss was a little difficult, but once I got the patterns down, I was able to dodge all his projectiles and finish him off relatively quickly. Now here's the doozy. 1-2 is kind of an issue. You'll see here that at the beginning of the level I pick up rings. Now here's the interesting thing. I do not have the controller in my hands here. This level legit forces you to pick up rings, and there's nothing you can do about it. Now, usually I would say, oh, it's fine. Let's just move on, don't do this cyberspace level. Your entire progress through the game is barred by this one level, as it's a complete necessity that you finish this level. And even if I was to break my way past the bridge, I doubt that the game would function properly and would completely break progress. So, unfortunately I must say, that no, it is sadly not possible to beat Sonic Frontiers without picking up rings. But this video would not be as fun if I just stopped here, so for fun, let's just keep it moving and pretend that this shit never happened. Moving on, we collect the first emerald and we're set off into the open world. Okay, I have no idea what the fuck happened to this cutscene, but something with the mods got it going little wacko. I've never seen this before. Alright. Side note, I also never touch 1-3, and honestly a lot of the cyberspace levels, because they ended up being impossible to do, and I did try out every cyberspace level, but I don't know, most of them did not work at all, and it was just, yeah, it was not a good time. So there won't be footage of every cyberspace level in there, but probably of the successful ones in here. We'll see. Anyways, we pick up an emerald number 2, and Mr. Biggins comes in and gives us a wallop. Thank you, Mr. Biggins. After this, progress goes really smoothly, and I even end up clearing 1-4 and getting the S ranking, all the red rings. So that was a nice Gobi surprise. I then progress some more and end up at 1-7, where I almost accidentally screwed myself. On the island where 1-7 is located, there's a way off on a spring. The spring will launch you into a bunch of rings. There's no way to break out of the spring, so unfortunately, I was a little stuck on this island. And usually, I would be like, okay, you know what, not doing this level. I forgot to save. I had not saved in over 45 minutes. I was kind of, I was struck. I guess you could put it like that. And the only way off of this island was to get back to the smaller island in front of it. That was also proving difficult, as you had to make this jump that was like just far enough for it to be like, oh my god, it's so close, it's so close. So I kind of sat here crafting up some stuff, and I was like, man, this is just, I don't think I can do it. I think the jump is too far. And then I had an idea. These metal boxes that are scattered around the island can actually be stood on top of. Usually you're supposed to break them. And there's one right beside the cyberspace portal, and it's right in front of the island where I need to go. So I hopped on top, I boosted, jumped, and boosted again, and lo and behold, I crafted my way out of this issue that I really just created myself. But I felt pretty proud of this. I won't lie. After this whole kerfuffle, I went and acquired Chaos Emerald number 3, and we're off to the races once more. And by races, I mean Sonic Farming Simulator that for some reason has the 4th Chaos Emerald behind it, but whatever. Unfortunately, I'm really low on vault keys, which are required to get the rest of the emeralds. So I head to Bass Pro Fishing Lounge and go crazy. Also thought this might be a good idea since you can unlock fast travel through this, in case I get stuck in a little 1-7 issue again. I did not know this fishing side mission would bring this journey to a most unfortunate end. Again. I caught a fucking ring. I've legit never seen this outside of this run. What the fuck? Jokes aside though, my ring count didn't go up. So, we're chilling. I really thought that this big triangle thing would cause me a lot of issues, since there's only one way up, and I was really scared that there would be a ring on the spring path. But it turned out fine. I ascended this triangle tower thing with no issue and got that 5th emerald. P.S. I just realized I've been counting the emeralds wrong. And I missed a clip of one somewhere. Pretty sure it was the other minigame. But trust me, I did it. It's there. Yeah, there's no clip of it. I don't know what to say. It's just not there. The rest of the island goes really well. I beat that stupid ass, but what the fuck is this, Sega? I hate it. And finally make my way to Giganto. We then hang on to the other side and prove that we are undefeatable. I'm sorry. And face and defeat Giganto. This is just the sickest fucking boss fight with the sickest music band. I still can't get over it and get chills every time without fail. Oh my god. Anyways though, with the defeat of Giganto, brings the victory over Kronos Island. And now, it's time to move over to Ares Island. I'll be honest, the first part of this island was extremely easy, and maybe even more so than Kronos. I basically spent like the first hour walking around doing whatever challenges I can and skipping whatever ones I can't, while also doing some of like the memory token segments throughout the island. I also attempt some cyberspace levels and have some luck, but not too much to be honest. It wasn't really until I collect the first emerald that things got a little trickier. For example, the Wyvern chase sequence. This ended up being probably the first challenging part of the island because the missile trajectory is just so fucked, and it's like, it's hard to predict and dodge all the rings scattered across your path. It's just, it's tough. But honestly, in the end, it really wasn't that difficult, and it only took like 5 tries, and like, I don't know, it was pretty enjoyable, and like a semi-challenging part of the island, for sure. Now, don't expect the momentum to keep, because another big chunk of this island was pretty uneventful. Besides me trying 2-3 and maybe think about how we are
perpetually trapped in a never-ending spiral of life and death. Is this a curse? Or some kind of punishment? I often think about the god who blessed us with this cryptic puzzle, and wonder if we'll ever have the chance to kill him.
I then decided to go fishing for a bit because I feel like I kind of exhausted most of the easy to get memory tokens, and I remember that for some reason Ares Island needs an insane amount of tokens, and like I figured I may as well just get some vault keys as well because cyberspace wasn't exactly treating me well. So yeah, I think fishing was just the play there. Starfall event now occurs, and it was probably the first time I was actually happy about that because I was very low on big tokens, so I actually grinded this out and shortly after collected emerald number 2. Now it's time to stack some cocos and get emerald number 3. Emerald number 4 is also not that far behind, although you do have to traverse through this basically mini level thing in the open world to reach it, and while it worried me at first, I ultimately ended up being quite easy, and I only accidentally touched a ring like a few times and fell a few times, and so it wasn't all that bad. Fishing time again to get some much needed vault keys. I then did the minigame and acquired the 5th emerald, and unfortunately the 6th emerald was not so easy. I tried taking the regular route up to the emerald, and eventually it was blocked by the massive wall that you have to scale up, and trust me, I tried getting around this for like 30 minutes and just couldn't figure it out. It's just like you have to, like, to successfully do this, you would have to go around the boost rings, and it is just like, it is not possible to do that. I literally tried everything and I could not get it. It's just, it's fucked. It is so fucked. And then I tried a more direct approach, which I just should have started with this. I was so pissed when I found this, and yeah, it worked so easy. It literally got up there like first try. I just had to do some stomps and stuff, so yeah. Whoops. The boss is now technically unlocked. I just need some more memory tokens, so you know what I'm gonna say. Time for more fish. And now we finally reached the moment I've been dreading all Ares Island. Wyvern. The red licorice part was not all that hard, but I did end up dying a few times, which is semi-annoying for this boss because you literally have to start all the way at the beginning each time you try this boss. But honestly, it wasn't that bad because I actually realized that you can jump over the shit that he fires at you, so yeah, I didn't know that until I tried this, so I was like, wow, okay, that's good to know. We reached the emerald and it's Piss Sonic time. Now I'm a little disappointed. I did this first try. The rings were actually extremely easy to dodge, and when you're boosting, the game kind of just dodges them for you, and they don't really magnetize to you, and I just ended up having a way more than enough time to kill this crazy guy. But yeah, ultimately I'm happy it was easy to do, but was kind of sad that it wasn't really a challenge at all. But anyways, with Wyvern defeated, we reached the most fucked part of this fucking game, man. It is, oh my god. Like, when I say this is fucked, it is fucked. Prepare for jank 2 levels you have not seen before, and actually hundreds of retries on certain parts. Like, oh my god, this was rough. Alright, well, here we are. This is probably going to be the hardest part of the game, and Chaos Island really doesn't take too long to start showing its true colors. This island consists heavily of 2D sections, which make getting around rings fucking a million goddamn times harder, since you can't go around them and you pretty much have to go over or under, and it also consists of a bunch of like mini islands which you need to rail grind to. It's just going to be difficult. I begin exploring and discover one of these railgun paths to another island, and instantly I am washed over with a major sense of dread. While I don't need to go to this island right now to progress, I know I have to later in the island, so I try crossing it to see if it's even possible. This path has oodles of rings on it, and it's extremely difficult, and I already begin to lose hope. I try many jumps and boosts, but being locked in 2D makes this literally next to impossible. But then a ray of hope shines through, and I discover that by jumping off this rail, as you kind of like begin to go upside down, it shifts the perspective to 3D, but upon landing, it actually shifts back. And after some trial and error, it's discovered that if you land far enough away from this trigger zone, I guess I'll call it, that it will not shift back to 2D and remain in 3D, which makes this way easier. That being said, I still can't find a way past and have some silly deaths, but I remain hopeful and I'll find a way later and move on for now. The challenges around this island can also be quite rough since they also consist mostly 2D, and I just mostly ignore them. It's not really worth it. I had no idea about this in my first few playthroughs of this game, but I also discovered you can ride these birds for an infinite amount of time, basically until they like hit a death pit or an invisible wall or crash into actually like something. But yeah, I'm sure this is going to be useful later. Wink, wink. I then get to show off exactly why the term I'm dubbing 3D switching is going to be insanely useful by clearing this section of rails. I then get enough vault keys by scrapping some cyberspace levels, finding treasure, and unlock that first emerald. And here's the first genuine use of the bird, folks. I gotta get over here, and it just works splendidly, and I get to pick up this emerald. And now we reach the first, I feel like hurdle is a soft word for what's about to happen. So, basically, upon picking up the first emerald, you get an encounter with the Titan of this island. Same as the other islands as well, they also work this way. And this is where we run into a huge issue. You guessed it, it's motherfucking 2D, baby. This section honestly wasn't horrible at first, with semi-easy to dodge rings and alternate paths, but my main worry was not being able to go to 3D here, since the game propels you forward endlessly, and eventually near the middle of this encounter, I encountered the greatest difficulty of the run so far. This fucking part right here. As you can see, there is a buzzsaw that insta-kills, I mean, not that it matters since I have no rings, and then a platform full of rings above it. I'm not even kidding, when I first saw this shit, I shit myself because it was just one of those things where you know it's going to be a massive issue. And oh boy, it was. I tried multiple different ways to get around this by jumping over the rings or by threading just above the saw but under the platform. And nothing seemed to work, and all was seeming hopeless. I was constantly trying this for about 40 minutes when I realized the position of the saw is actually based on your speed. So I decided to try going slower throughout this to see if the saw would leave enough of a gap before to be able to jump over. But it didn't quite work out. I tried this a few times with multiple different speeds, it didn't seem to work. So I tried the other side of the spectrum, going faster. And after a few attempts, I was actually able to outpace the saw and create a big enough gap for me to get through. And the rest of the encounter was very easy, and we beat this shit. Sorry. I then have to go talk to Tails, who's in a less than ideal spot, and you're supposed to run through this tower thing to get to him. That, by the way, I did realize later that there's other ways to get up to Tails, but oh well. This actually made it more fun. Now, as I'm sure you could guess, yup, it's in 2D, and yup, there's rings everywhere. I try the intended path and that doesn't work out, and I then discovered that you can just jump down through here to get to the very bottom, which is where we need to be. The only problem is that this part is brutal without rings, because on top of the lasers you have an enemy constantly sniping at you that rarely misses, so usually you're bound to get hit by something. Fun fact, you can also 3D break here, but the game really doesn't like when you do that. As you can see. I tried going through normally for about 10 minutes to no success, and then I discovered there's alternate routes to see how them go. And then the game fucking soft locks me here, so I have to reload instead of dying. After all this, I just swallow the pill and go the normal way, and after a few tries, I actually get it done. I then have to get back to the main island, so I pull off a very swaggy rail grind, but then realize I'm going to need more vault keys before I can get the next emerald. So for the first time on Chaos Island, yep, it's time to fish. Only problem is that the fishing portal is located right across the one rail grind part that I could not get past earlier. So it's time to get cracking on this shit, and yeah, I died many horrible ways and collect rings, but eventually, after about 20 to 30 minutes, I make it across, baby, and it's time to fish again. Now I gotta get back to the emerald to do some crazy rail movements, but then realize, whoops, I went to the wrong island, so time to find another way. And me being a total dumbass forgot I had to go the underground way there, which the robot blew open to get there. And the path honestly is not that bad until I get here. I tried cheesing the sonic tripping air boost thing, I don't even know how to describe that, and almost get it first try, and then I land in the spikes. And then find out it spits you back at the top every time you die, so yeah, that's fun. After a few tries, however, I make it past the simple way by just timing my jumps properly, and it worked quite well. I then get to the end of this underground section, and it shifts to 2D for the ascent, and instantly I get worried, but it ends up being fine until the end. It puts 5-10 packs of rings right on a booster path, so initially my first idea is to just jump over the boosters, but then that still leaves the problem of the rings, which are very conveniently placed so that there's barely any gap between them. And yeah, there's no way to jump over all of them either. So this is quite the problem, and especially since I'm in 2D. And I get pretty stumped here, honestly, but then I decide, what if you actually can land between them? And after some insane surgery finger moves and many tries, I actually fucking get through this, and I won't lie, I was quite proud of this. And now with that done, I can finally pick up Emerald 2. Time for more fancy rail grinding to get to Tails. After that, it's time for minigames, and Emerald 3 is ours. Well, that one was pretty simple. Getting to Tails is yet again quite the task, but I just gotta cheese this rail littered path with rings once again. And it even decided to be extra nice by not turning the camera around. Shortly after this, on the same island, we can now acquire Emerald 4. We're moving at a brisk pace here. Now, here's where we run into a massive issue. I cannot find a way to get back to the main island, as the rail going towards it was infinitely covered in rings, and the birds couldn't quite get far enough. The extra weird thing is that I'm pretty sure I was on this island before, but I found a way back somehow, so I was very confused. What ended up getting me off was a starfall event occurring and respawning the enemies, and little did I know that one of those enemies was a bird that was way higher on this island and had enough height to get me back to the main island. So I suppose this is how I got off before. After I leave the island, I get mega jump scared by squid, and then we do the mini game for emerald number 5. And I was immediately worried when I saw rings in the air and thought for sure we would be forced to pick up rings, but it actually never does, and it was super easy. Now, we've only got 1 emerald to go, and without spoiling much, I can already tell you that this is the hardest one, and yeah, they saved it for last. Immediately when I approach, the only path to get up to the emerald is blocked by a nice line of rings on the spring path. So my first thought is to try using the bird, but it doesn't have enough height, sadly, so pretty much the only way we can get onto that rail is to somehow get near it by jumping, or just something, like some way to get near it. So I attempt bounce jumping and still aren't having any luck, and I look around for more birds in the proximity and zero luck in that department either. My only choice is to somehow get to that rail without touching those rings, well, obviously, by jumping or cheesing physics, and I just can't quite get Sonic to trip the way I want him to, so my only decision is somehow climbing the pillar without the spring. After trying this, I actually managed to get up, but it's super jank, so repeat attempts are going to be tougher, and especially since I can't actually save when I get up to the top. So I'm going to have to retry this every time, sadly. After a while though, I can actually get up here pretty consistently without much trouble. But you might be asking, well, what's making you have to go back all the time? Well folks, here it is. Quite possibly the biggest challenge for this run. A little ways up on this mini level section, I guess you could call it, we reach a 2D section that has possibly the worst placement of rings ever. And at first I thought, we can probably just hug one of the walls and it will be fine. And yeah, no. Rings are too close to both walls and are unavoidable as hell. I was trying to get past this for no joke an hour straight, and half of that was just me sitting there idly not knowing what to do and like trying to think of a way past this. I genuinely was so hopeless here, even more hopeless than the night encounter section where I thought that Saw would be unavoidable too, but looking back at that, I knew there had to be some way that I can figure out how to get past these rings, so I cooked. So shortly before these rings, there is a rail that puts you into 2D, but y'all know how odd this game is with rails and being able to 3D switch. So this is exactly what I tried. But the problem is that the rail immediately puts you onto a boost thing, which then sets you into 2D. But what I didn't realize at first is that there is a tiny window where you can actually jump over the boost thing, and while I could not get it every time, I did eventually discover through spamming the fuck out of the jump button that it actually does not lock you into 2D. But this is super inconsistent to pull off, and it's going to be absolutely vital in discovering a way past these rings. And sure enough, with many attempts and a lot of luck, I was finally able to pull this off and cheese my way past these rings. Dude, I was ecstatic when I made it past. I simply could not believe it. The path ahead was pretty easy too, but that being said, I was being so careful not to touch a ring here, because if I did, I would have to do this all over again. But that didn't end up being a problem, and I made it to the fucking emerald, so we are just one more obstacle away from being able to although, I'm still short on memory tokens, so yep, fish. But what awaits is maybe an issue, depending on how you look at it. So, as you probably know, this island features a necessary pinball segment that involves you having to get 5 million score to unlock the boss arena. But as you can see, there's a load of rings here, and you practically need to collect rings to build that score. So, yeah. There was a glitch floating around at the time, though, that involved skipping the segment, but I believed it was patched when I played this. But that being said, though, I did try it a few times, and I could not get it to work, so here's the thing, guys. Y'all can have your own thoughts on this, but here's my thesis. Basically, when you're in this pinball minigame, while yes, you do pick up rings, you do not collect them. What I mean is that when you pick them up, you do not actually get them in game, and no matter how many I collect here, none of them will actually ever contribute to my ring count. Some of you may find this cheap, but personally I'm not going to count this as collecting rings, but honestly y'all can spin it however you want. But for the sake of this challenge, I'm not going to count it, because I don't really think that this fits the definition of collecting a ring, but honestly, I will leave that one up to you guys. So that being said, I finished this great and awesome minigame that I have no complaints about, and finally unlocked the night fight. Now the night fight was actually sort of worrisome because of it taking a little longer with like the shield segments and such, but something I actually never noticed is that your rings reset for some reason upon one of these segments triggering, or a quick time event or something. Just any event like that. Not sure if it was like that for other fights, but it is for this one at least, so this actually made it like really fucking easy. But yeah, it's really run-of-the-mill, almost as easy as Giganto, and I have zero issues beating him. It was first try, obviously. And now with the penultimate Titan's defeat, we now move on to the part I am worried about the most. Rhea Island. Now, I'm just gonna be straight up, guys. The worry for this island was absolutely warranted. I came in here expecting to have an issue with maybe 1 or 2 of the towers, but no. Every single fucking tower has an unavoidable ring path, which is really disappointing. I tried many things to try and get up these, and as you have all seen in this video, I've been pretty crafty, but this island is just a whole nother beast. Just being up so high on these towers makes this really hard to cheese anything, just because you really have no room to work with, and it's just like you have no weird terrain to boost off of. It's not doable. It's fucked. It's all messed up. But yeah, if anyone, and I mean like anyone, can figure out how to get past this, please let me know in the comments, because I mean I don't really know how, like, I don't see how it's possible, and especially this first tower here that just sends you into these rings. Like, it's like there's such a gap here. I don't see how you could do this. I can't think of anything, but if anyone can, I would love to see that. I would absolutely love it. But yeah, depending on if you count pinball or not, or also 1-2, this is the first time we cannot avoid rings, sadly. And I would go through the liberty of showing each unavoidable section on these towers, but they honestly all look the same and have a similar tier obstacle in our way, like a boost ring that sends you flying into them, or a rail path that has rings littered everywhere with no way to boost past. So yeah, I'm gonna call this island here and move on, but unfortunately this island was a huge fail, and it sucks to see so late in the run. But once again, for the sake of the video, let's at the very least do the 5th and final island, Ouranos Island. Now, this is kind of funny because while Rhea Island is the hardest part of the game, Ouranos is quite possibly the easiest in terms of not picking up rings. It's really in between this and Kronos. And honestly, guys, I would run through the normal way of like showing the process of getting these emeralds, but legitimately nothing of interest happened. This was so easy. The only thing which required a little finesse was trying to get up to this emerald and having to find a way around this ring, which boosts you into rings. But that did not take me long to figure out, and this was legit the only challenge on this island. Like, I got all the vault keys, all the memory tokens by pretty much fishing, and that's all I had to do, because the bonus you get in, like, I don't know how to explain it, but like the economy of the fishing items on this island is super, like, it's busted kind of, so you can just fish for a little bit and then you can pretty much have everything you need to complete the island. So yeah, that's pretty much what I did. And yeah, I mean, the whole island was pretty much just me simply walking around the rings in the way, because it was just, I cannot emphasize this, it was just so easy. So I'm just gonna skip to the supreme fight, which, man, I also hate to say that this is very easy, and the only thing I can't get to is this final move. I can't get it to trigger, and I was running out of rings, but eventually it did trigger, and I finished them off very quickly and first try. And obviously the end was not hard either, because there's no way to even pick up a ring in here, and there's no time limit. So yeah, with the final boss defeated, the game is now over, and we get to sit back and bask in the credits. It kind of sucks to end the video like this, but for both these islands there was just really nothing to show of interest, unlike the other islands. But that being said, though, the first 3 islands gave us quite the challenge at times, and I'm really happy with how those went and how fun it was to figure out a way around those. But yeah, sorry to end this on such a short note, but that's just kind of how it be with these islands. To everyone who watched this, genuinely thank you for sticking around, and I'm trying to upload more consistently and possibly make a full Frontiers review in the future, but I do want to do another video of some kind before that, just not sure what yet. But yeah, stick around for that. Yeah, I just don't want to do another Frontiers video right after this one, because this will be that would be my 3rd in a row, and I don't know, I need to make a video on something else that isn't Frontiers, but I do love this game, and I would like to make a full review. I need to post something else first. So, I don't know, I'll figure something out. But yeah, I hope everybody has a swell morning, afternoon, evening, night, and thank you so much for watching, and let me know if you want more challenge runs in the future, actually. So I'd be so down for that. Like, any game, seriously, throw out any game there, I will fucking buy it, I will play it, figure it out, whatever. I'll figure it out. I would love to do that. So yeah, thank you for watching, and bye.